From our studios in the Southern Food and Beverage Museum in New Orleans, welcome to our Louisiana Eats podcast series, Quick Bites. I'm Poppy Tooker. With Tales of the Cocktail 2018 right around the corner, on today's podcast, we'll meet one of the most inspirational cocktailians I've ever encountered at Tales. That's Kate Gerwin. Kate was the first American and first female Bols Around the World bartending champion. She and I discussed her illustrious career owning and operating award-winning establishments, as well as her journey to become a mentor to female bartenders.
Well, I grew up in wine country in California and Sonoma and Napa, so it was just natural in the hospitality industry to gravitate towards wine. I was a cellar rat. I used to shovel grapes. I was usually the only female in the cellar. It was physical work, very fun, very demanding. I also worked as a sommelier at some restaurants where I met my ex-husband, who was a chef. And when we decided to open our own restaurant, we moved to New Mexico. And we opened a restaurant which was really supposed to be a fine dining, wine-focused restaurant. However, in New Mexico, wine isn't really in the forefront. Cocktails are, especially margaritas, fresh juice cocktails, tequila, things of that nature. So it wasn't really something that I made a conscious decision for. It was something that I kind of started to gravitate towards because that's what my guests wanted. They wanted more cocktails. What I came to discover was that with wine and being a sommelier, I basically am given a creative dish from a chef and an expression from a winemaker, and I have to find a match within what two creative people have created. I have to think about a vintage in a year and a climate and how it's going to have the acidity levels, how it's going to match or complement a dish. When I started really gravitating towards cocktails, I realized that my chef could give me a dish, and I didn't have to struggle to find the right grape varietal or the right region or the right vintage. I could just create a cocktail that had the perfect levels of acidity, the right flavors to complement the dish, and then I got the chance to be creative instead of taking two creative outlets and trying to marry them. I started making my own cocktails, and it was something I never looked back on.
Well, you really got extra good super fast at making your own cocktails because you were the first female champion in 2014 of the Bols Bartending World Competition. I mean, that's huge. What was that contest like?
It's intense. They call it like the Olympics of bartending because it starts with over 3,000 bartenders from 70 different countries. I mean, it's huge, and it's narrowed down when they narrow it down to the top 18, it takes 4 months. And 4 months of different levels of competition. It's not just bartending. It's not just creating a cocktail and submitting a recipe. There's menu development. There's operations questions. There's speed and efficiency. So there's all kinds of things. They narrow it down to the top 18, and those 18 are flown out to Amsterdam. From there, there's still a whole nother week of competition. Every day is new challenges where everything you could possibly think of, history and classics, and then they narrow it down to the top 8, which go to what they call the big show. And the big show is televised. It's a huge event. It's on stage. And that's when we get to showcase our bartending skills. It's a little bit more about style and creating the perfect cocktail and entertaining our guests because for me, being the perfect bartender is not just about making a good cocktail and walking away. It's about giving the whole experience to a guest and entertaining them. People don't go out to bars to just have a drink. They want the experience. So we got to kind of showcase what we were doing. I threw a little style and a little couple of things that I do with some pours, and I was very, very blessed. My competition was fierce. In fact, one of the competitors who finished second place is a cap here this year. He's from Hong Kong. Amazing, amazing, talented guy. And I just feel very blessed. I took home the prize. I was shocked. I definitely cried a lot.
Well, with all those various elements, like even history, and how did you prepare for that?
I didn't do a lot of preparation right before. I think it was just my extensive background in wine and spirits. I did teach at 2 culinary schools, and what I did teach was operations management, which has a lot to do with the menu development and how to run a successful business, as well as wine and spirits and food pairing classes. I think the reason why I have been so lucky and kind of excelled in such a short period of time is my understanding of food. Cocktails really are they're the same thing. You have to have balance, you have to have creativity, you have to have flavors. But you also, just like chefs that create 20 ingredient dishes, simplicity is key. and giving someone in a new light, taking a classic and putting a little twist on it, is the way that we get to the chance to showcase our skills.
Kate, one of the things that really made us interested in talking to you is that you're what's known as one of the girls with Bols. What is that?
Well, when I won the Bols Around the World Championship, Bols sat me down and talked to me about my experience and asked me what I really wanted to achieve in 1 year. And when they actually the ones that told me, they said, you know that you're the first female world champion, and not just for bowls. Like, I'm the first. And they said, how does that make you feel? Like, I was supposed to have so much pride. And the first thing I said to them is, I said, it kind of makes me want to cry. And they were like, well, why? Like, that's so silly. And I'm like, no. Like, women have been bartending for a long time. I mean, Ada Coley and all these people who pioneered women bartending, and I'm the first, me? That's kind of disappointing. And when we talked about why and the industry standards and competitions especially, we did a little bit of research, and we came to find out that in the United States, over 60% of the bartenders in the United States are women. So over half of all bartenders are actually women. However, when it comes to competitions, only 17% of women are competing. And we kind of broke that down in the idea of that competitions come from a certain level of bartending. It tends to be that women are hired for their assets and not their brain. And that, to me, was a big red flag. We needed some strong female mentors in really big markets to pioneer a new path for bartenders, for female bartenders, to learn the craft and not just put a tank top on and shake their moneymaker, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We're all in the industry, and I get it. But women bartenders, they've got some serious talent. So what we did is we started a program called Girls with Bowls, and it was kind of a play for me just to be kind of funny and make a joke about it. We picked pioneering women in 5 different markets, which we're actually expanding now because it's been so successful. And these women take on an active female mentorship role in the responsible mentorship. And we do charity events. We talk about things like family planning, because that's something that people don't think about. We can be mothers and be bartenders at the same time. Financial planning, tax processing, things of those nature. We talk about businesses. We talk about health and health insurance and how to get those things. So we really try and give, and it's not just for females, but we really try and give the young girls in the industry the idea of this can be a career, this can be a viable way of making money and being happy and not giving up the rest of your life and really being successful in it. So it's been wonderful. The reaction is incredible. The rock star women we have on board are just, they blow my mind every single day. Kimberly Patton Bragg. Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Pamela Wisnitzer in New York City, Sabrina Kershaw from Boston. I mean, these women are the ones that have inspired me. So being able to be on a team with them and being able to lead the future of the industry, I just kind of feel like we're pioneering something new.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good work.
Awesome.
Well, I'm fascinated by the fact that as a woman, the business you had in Albuquerque, New Mexico was Imbibe Cigar Bar. And I never met a woman who owned a cigar bar before. So how'd that happen? Are you a cigar smoker?
I'm not an aficionado. I do enjoy a nice cigar for sure. The first business that I actually had in Albuquerque was a fine dining restaurant called Casa Vieja. And when my ex-husband and I separated, I decided, as much as I love the culinary world, it just wasn't as much for me. Most operators know the bar makes the money. The bar is where you're going to make the money. So from there, I went on and decided to just stick into the bar industry. And that's where I got into Imbibe, which is a cigar bar in Nob Hill, which is kind of like a very nice posh area of Albuquerque, just outside of UNM. So we get a lot of volume. That's where I learned to be a fast bartender. Speed is key. Speed is such a key. And really entertainment. You know, people come in and they want to be entertained. They want to have a good time.
Well, that was something that was very unusual about your opportunity to present here at Tales, because there's a particular style of bartending known as flair bartending.
Yep.
And so for people who might not know what that is, explain what it is and give us your special twist on it.
Okay, so this is actually the first flair, quote, flair seminar that we've had here at Tales, because Tales has always been an event that's focused on the craft, on the cocktail, and on the art of making a balanced and perfect cocktail, and the classics as well. Flair bartending is a style of bartending when it's exhibition flair especially is all about the show and the showmanship, and a lot of tossing of the bottles, tricks, and fun things like that. Flair bartending is like what people say in Vegas. However, there is something besides exhibition flair, and we call it working flair. And I think every well-balanced bartender should have a little bit of style and service, and it's called working flair. So we did a working flair seminar, and it's not juggling, it's not tossing things around. It's showing style, it's showing finesse, and showing elegance. And especially for me, like working in a small market like Bismarck, North Dakota, how do you introduce what you're doing to a small market without having to brag? Or you don't walk in and go, well, look at our fancy ice cubes, and we make all of our fresh juices. But something as simple as showing your guest with the flick of a wrist and the toss of a tin and catching a bottle that you take pride in your craft, that you are skilled, that this isn't something you do part-time until you're waiting for your other job. It's 90% of communication is nonverbal communication. So being able to show your guest with just a little bit of style that you really care about your craft, it relays really nicely. It really does.
Wow, I'm really amazed. What an amazing mind change here. When you come to New Orleans, what are the things that surprise you or that you note in particular?
New Orleans is one of the most amazing cities for culture. It's one of the things I look forward to every time. It is such a unique and specific culture within the United States. I've been very blessed with my world championship. I've gotten to go to Russia and Dubai and Japan and Australia and all of these places. And it's always fun to me to realize that even within our country, we have such a unique variety of different styles. But to me, one of the most unique has got to be New Orleans. It's so beautiful. And the passion and the culture and the people, especially, these people love their city like nothing else.
Well, Kate, when you and I hadn't met each other, and we were rendezvousing out at the wild party in the street in front of the Monteleone, you said, oh, you really can't miss me. I have red hair and my head's tattooed too. So this is quite a look you're working here.
It is.
Tell me about this look that you've got going on.
Well, I've always had tattoos. I love tattoos, clearly. But I never actually had them in what I call scene territory until I owned my own business, until I became successful. Not because of myself, but just understanding. Preconceived notions and things like that. When I felt like I had finally really established who I was, and that I knew that I was confident in my actions and my mind and my brain and my power, I started doing what I had always wanted to do, was tattooing, my arms and things like that. At first, it was a little difficult. At first, it was different as people reacted to me, and I could see the reactions. But now I love it. I own it. It's part of who I am. And part of the things I love about it is I like being underestimated. I like it when people meet me and they kind of like look up and down, and then I start to talk and they're like, oh my God, she's really smart and I can learn from her, and she's fun, and she's not pretentious, and she has a really good time. The head tattoo's new.
It's like the skull. It's wild.
It is.
For people who haven't looked at the photo online yet, it's like really big.
It is.
Bigger
it's half
than
my
my
head.
palm. Yeah, and it's like over your left side of your head and your ear, and it's something. What's the design, and what exactly inspired you to move onto your scalp?
Yeah. Well, the shaving of the side of the head, or the undercuts, are very popular right now, and it's something that I wanted to do. So I first shaved the side of my head, just not all the way to the skin, just because it's a style and it's something that's popular right now. And when I did it, I kept looking at my head and I thought, well, gosh, I shaved it. I have a lot of tattoos. I don't know if I'm ever going to shave it again. I don't know I might as well just kind of tattoo it while it's there. I mean, how many more opportunities am I going to have to shave and tattoo the side of my head? So I talked to my tattoo artist, who is very talented and a dear friend of mine. And we talked a lot because, of course, the first thing he says to me is, we're going to put like a black widow and I was like, haha, you're funny. No. But what we decided is I really wanted something, that was beautiful and elegant. So it is a mandala. It's a mandala
very elegant,
flower.
classical design.
It is a symbolism of a Buddhist culture that represents the universe and balance. And it's something that I chose very carefully. But the funny thing, now this tattoo gets a lot of attention.
I bet it
clearly.
does.
But it's one of the most conservative tattoos that I have, because all I have to do is grow my hair out and poof, it's gone. And the hair grows right back out. It'll cover up the tattoo completely. When I first got it done, it was a little bit of a shock to my system. I'm not going to lie. There's a couple times I'd catch myself in the mirror because I don't see it. That's another thing, is that everyone else sees it right away when they look at me. I don't see it unless I look in the mirror. So I kind of forget about it. And then I see people looking and I'm like, oh yeah, they're looking at my head, which is funny. But, as soon as I started getting used to it and people started reacting to it, I don't know how long I'll keep it. It's not like I'm going to keep it forever, but I do love it. It is part of who I am. I even talk to like Bols, and I talk to my owners, and I'm like, I can cover it with hair. I can part my hair differently. And they all said, they were like, this is who you are. We all know you. Rock it. Own it. Just own it. So I do, and I love it. It's part of who I am.
What's fabulous about it, really and truly, is that you've got the most beautiful sort of blue-green eyes. And so it just makes everything, the eyes and everything, complement each other. It's a great look.
Thank you. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was nervous, but everyone's reaction has made me very confident in it. And I love it because people, people come up and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then they rub my head. And I'm like, oh, it's like a little dog. I'm like, right behind the ear.
So Kate, what do you see in the future of the cocktail world? And maybe even more so, what are your hopes and dreams for Kate's future?
Like I said, I love small market work. It's hard for me sometimes because I don't think the small markets get the love that they deserve. I understand the brand perspective. They sell their product in New York. And that's the markets that they focus on. I want to change the way the brands and people view that, because New York is already established. LA, Miami, they get all the love. They get the competitions. They get the trips. They get the people coming and the market visits. What about the little guys? You aren't going to sell in these markets until you drop the window, come open, and go check out all of these small little towns. So my hope is that people start, and not to not focus on the big markets, obviously, I get it, but really start paying attention to the little guys, because it spreads like wildfire out there, and they have just as much opportunity to make sales as the rest.
Well, Kate, this has been such an incredible pleasure. So
It's been great.
I look forward to seeing you again
and
again
won't miss
at
me.
Tales of the Cocktail.
I'll be here every year.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
That was mixologist and mentor Kate Gerwin. If you enjoyed this Louisiana Eats Quick Bite, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss a delicious serving of Louisiana Eats. Visit poppytooker.com for lots more recipes and delicious food ideas, too. Have a special request or a thought to share? We'd love to hear from you. Call 504-867-9128. Or send us an email to louisianaeats@poppytooker.com. Louisiana Eats original theme music composed by David Pomerleau and performed by Johnny Sketch and the Dirty Notes. Thanks to Sarah Holtz, who produced this podcast. I'm Poppy Tooker. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our major sponsors, Camellia Bean, Zatarans, Rouse's Markets, and the Ralph Brennan Restaurant Group. Visit poppytooker.com to see a full list of our partners. This Louisiana Eats Quick Bite was produced by Poppy Tooker Broadcasting.